this is Brian at the Edge Pro here. I wanted to talk to you today about cam bearings on Andis clippers. Most Andis detachable blade clippers will use the same cam bearing, and oftentimes that needs to be replaced. Cam bearing goes underneath the blade drive, and this is going to be the same on a Pulse ZR2, Supra ZR2, an Andis AG, AG2, AGC, AGC2 as I have here. The process is going to be the same, even though the internals look slightly different. So the first thing is just looking at it and looking at what's going on and why you might need to replace that. So start by removing the blade drive. And the hinge as well. So you can see a lot of hair build up in here. Get the blade drive off. But in the case here, this cam bearing does not rotate. The cam itself, the motor does rotate, but the bearing itself doesn't rotate. That needs to be spinning freely without excess play. So this is a case where if the rest of the clipper is in good shape, that bearing needs to be replaced. And the best way to replace that is to tear the motor down. So we'll take the clipper apart. We'll get the motor separated. And at this point, the motor, albeit different sizes, this is an SMC motor. Pulse ZR2 motor is very similar size to this. This is going to be a motor from the AGC2 as well as an AG. It's going to be a very, very similar motor. But it is helpful to go ahead and break it down the rest of the way. And this also gives you a chance to verify that everything else is in good working order. Remove the brushes. If your oil seal is in really bad shape, you can remove it completely. If it's still in pretty good shape, you can just cut you a couple of slots to remove the motor clips, and you can keep the oil seal there. You don't have to replace it. With the motor clips there, you can remove the rear and the front motor frame. Pull it out. You can inspect the field, make sure that you don't have a broken or a loose field there. But now we have the armature by itself, and this gives us a chance to get to that bearing and get that replaced. So the first thing is actually removing that bearing. It's probably the most difficult part about this, is trying to get that off of here. There is a clip that holds that bearing in place there as a double safety feature. If that clip is still in place, you can remove it with pliers. A lot of times I just kind of leave it. It kind of falls off as I go. So to remove this, what I found the easiest method is taking a pair of side cutters. I got this old pair that I've done this a lot with. So they're used and abused, but they still work okay. And I literally cut the outer race of this bearing here, and parts do kind of go flying. So I usually do this over the trash can. I'll use my hand here to shield this. Sorry you can't see what's going on. That keeps some of the parts in there. So I've actually broken that outer race. A lot of times it just falls off at that point. This one needs a little extra help. I get the outer race off, all the extra hair, the actual balls that are in there, the seals. If that snap ring is still on there, I can get that off of there. But I still have the inner race attached. So to get that inner race off, the most reliable method is to actually unscrew the cam from the armature. That takes the cam off of the armature. Now on an AG and an AG2 armature, the cam has a male thread, the motor has a female thread. On a Pult ZR2 or a SMC motor, they're reversed. So the armature actually has the male thread and the cam has the female thread. Process is the same there, just unscrew it. And then I actually like to go to the vise to get this off. So to get the inner race off of here, it's not much area to pry against, so I like to pry against a vise. So I'll actually put this cam into the vise. I just put it in so the top of the cam is flush with the top of the vise. And then I use those same side cutters and I grip that groove on the inner race. I'm just gripping that groove, and then I actually pry against the vise, and that pulls that inner race off. I can discard that, and now the cam is completely removed, the bearing is completely removed from the cam. So now with the inner race removed from the cam, I can get this ready to put the new bearing back on. There's a little bit of Loctite on those threads sometimes, so just a little wire brush just to clean off any dirt, anything that's there. Kind of helpful. I like to put a little bit of removable Loctite on those threads. I don't think it's necessary. But it makes me sleep better at night. You do want to tighten that cam back on. Now I can take my bearing, get it started on there. Now I need to seat that bearing. The trick here is that this is very small. The bearing actually goes down past, this shaft on the cam is actually longer than the bearing. So you have to get it down past and seated fully against the base of that cam. And when you press a bearing on, you need to be pressing by the inner race, not the outer race. So we have a cam bearing installation tool to help with that. That simply slides over the bearing, fits that bearing nicely. It does have relief in there for that center shaft, and it's actually raised where the inner race is, so it's not pressing against the outer race. So these are available from us, as well as the bearings with clips. You can put this into an arbor press if you have one. Or if you don't have an arbor press, one's not available at the moment, you can just tap these on by hand. I usually just get it started, make sure that it's going on straight, take a look at it, make sure that everything's going on straight. And then just a couple of taps. And I look to see that the bearing is seated fully against the base of the cam. I should be able to see the snap ring groove at the top. That tells me I've got the bearings seated on there fully. Now if you choose to install the snap ring, they're very small. And the only pliers I have found that actually fit these are a Nipex. It's a number 4621A01. And these are available from retailers online that sell Nipex tools. But these are the only snap ring pliers I have found that will actually fit this snap ring. It's very small. It's hard to work with big fingers. and there it closed down around that groove. My bearing spins freely. So now I can reassemble the motor, reassemble the clipper. So again, this is the cam bearing for the most Andis detachable blade clippers. Andis stopped manufacturing this part separately. Now require you to purchase a new motor or armature depending on the model. So we do have these bearings available from us. They come with the clips, and then we are manufacturing the installation tool to get that bearing seated on there correctly. So these parts are available from us now at theedgepro.com.